Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it is time for episode number 15, episode 15 of Changemakers. We started from the bottom and now we're here. Actually, we started out really, really good. We had Daryl Davis on our first episode. We've had American Ninja Warrior contestants. We've had people creating their own charities. We've had people doing all different things, authors, etc. People that have gone through struggles. We've had ex-police officers. We've had politicians. We've had pretty much everything on this show, and we continue to have great guests. And I cannot be more excited about this week's show. We've got two sepsis survivors that have gone through different variations of being having amputee, different limbs, different parts of their feet. It is great stories that really truly shows the human spirit. So as you start making your way into Changemakers, I know a lot of you guys are starting now. Make sure you hit the like button. Make sure you hit the hearts, whatever, and make a comment. Where are you guys from? I want to see the comments in the side of the box, and then we'll get started with Changemakers in less than 1 minute. Changemakers begins in uno momento right here at the Be the Change Network. Jeanette, I did not cut you off in the comments. I did take the compliment, though, and I know that, yes, yummy is a perfect description of the new haircut. Scott, what's going on, brother? We are at about 35 people, and we are growing, so I'm going to give it about 30 more seconds, and then we're going to kick the tires, light the fires of Changemakers, episode number 15. Now, this would be great for you guys to share. As a lot of you guys know, this is not a political show. This is all about inspiration, about people creating change in the world around them, people creating change in their communities and finding a way to show what we could do and the ripple effects we have in this world. So hit the like button, hit the hearts, hit whatever random buttons and emotions that you can. Hello, Nicole. How's it going? And then we'll get started in about 10 seconds right here at Be the Change Network. Scott, Dayton, Ohio, wishing a Merry Christmas. Tis the season to be jolly. All right, let's go ahead and get started. Changemakers coming up right now. It's so cheesy, you kind of got to like the intro music. It's, it brings just that pizzazz. So Changemakers, as a lot of you guys already know, the purpose of this show is to show people that are creating change in their lives and in the communities around them. So please, this is all about positivity. This is about inspiration, motivation, and giving an example, creating ripple effects, inspiring people, changing people's mindset on their day, on their week, on their year, whatever this 2020 is. That is the purpose of Changemakers, and that's why we have this show. It's literally to find a way to engage in positive content, and that's the concept. That is what we do with Be the Change. That is the whole reason why we have Be the Change, is to find positivity, whether it's in politics or whether it's in real life, and spread that message. So I hope you guys enjoy this 45-minute episode. We're going to have these two phenomenal ladies as guests, and they're going to tell you about their story. And if we have any questions to answer, we'll do that as well. I want to give a shout out to people that are here. Joanna Alverson, Ready, Set, Go. Jeanette from Kennesaw. Berber her. Okay, got it. Nancy, Nikki, of course, in the house. Christy, Mary Ellen Giddens. Joanna Alverson is in Pennsylvania, and Belinda loves the introduction. So clearly Belinda likes the cheese, and that is just fine. I'm a whiz of cheese. Cheese whiz. I come in a can. Anyways, before we get started, a couple things to remind you guys of. Later tonight, I don't say this out loud because it freaks people out that are on the algorithm side. Tonight, this. Okay. Moving on. That's where we'll end that. You guys can watch that on YouTube. That's at 9 o'clock Central, 10 o'clock Eastern time. We've got all of our favorite guests on that show. They'll be with us tonight. Bobby Sauce, Lauren, Cashley, Kelly, of course. That'll be tonight. We're going to have a lot of fun on that one. Cash, again, is going to be at the helm because I'll probably be doing that show from my phone. So he's going to be on the trigger on that episode. Not that kind of trigger, but on the mouse trigger. Anyways, got to be very clear these days. Welcome to 2020. And again, this show that we're about to have is apolitical. It's not about politics. It's literally about persons. It's different pee, very different pee. So this is going to be a fun show, and we are excited to have a couple ladies that have amazing stories. Typically, I do their full introduction. I'm not going to do that because I want them to explain their background. Both of these ladies we have on this episode are sepsis survivors. And if you miss any of this or need to go and you would like to watch this later, all I'm going to ask you to do is make sure you go to our bum-ba-da-bum. Oh, God, I do it every time. People always talk about the bum-ba-da-bum thing. We have our podcast set up. So you're going to go to hashtag #BeTheChange /podcast, or you can just click on it at the top of the screen. And that is where all of our podcasts live. Truth will set you free, as well as this. Changemakers always available the next day. And if you'd like to support us, any of our programming on Be The Change, we have a Patreon set up, and it is at www.patreon.com/BeTheChangeUSA. We currently have no advertisers. We are strictly doing this with the support of you guys. So we appreciate that. All right. With no further ado, these two ladies have both gone through things that I think a lot of us can't imagine. And they have come out stronger, better, more fierce, and more determined to make sure they're living the life that all of us should want out of our own lives. And I'm very excited. I'm first going to introduce a lady you might have seen on one of our conferences with Jeff Martinet Jr., and that's part of the way that I met our other guest. So we're going to introduce her first. She's going to give a little ditty about herself. So ladies and gentlemen, Maria Papalia-Meier. How's it going, Maria?
Hi. Good. How are you?
Doing fantastic. So you had a very easy day today, right?
Oh, yes, very easy.
She was coming in like a hurricane. She's like, the computer's not working. I don't know what's happening.
I know. That's when I feel really old with all this technology, when I can't figure things out.
My mother is better at technology than I am. And actually, young kids today, I just had this conversation. The younger group knows how to use it all the time, but they don't know how to. I think our demographic and older are actually better at this than the kids. The kids these days, they just know how to make little fun filters. Why do you need a filter? You're 13. Anyways, Maria, I would love for you to just give a little background of yourself just in a minute, and then we're going to do a little bit more of a deep dive, especially with Kim. But what's your story?
Sure. So I am, we live up here in Massachusetts. I'm a mom to 2 teenage children. I had a great life. Well, I still do have a great life, but things were going very well. Had a great career, great family. Everything's going fine. And then right after my 40th birthday, I went into septic shock from a strep infection I didn't know I had. And that day changed the rest of my life. I was in the hospital for a little over 7 weeks. I was a runner. Have been a runner for a very long time, but due to some complications with some medicine I was given, I had to have my toes amputated, and I was told I would never run again. But I proved them all wrong. I've run to date 2 half marathons. I was signed up for a few more that didn't take place because of COVID. But I do have plans to run a marathon in 2022.
It's awesome. And we'll get more into what they told you and how you overcame it and kind of the background of your story with sepsis as well. And with that, I'm going to introduce our next guest, who you guys are friends, or have you just met through the sepsis community?
We met through the sepsis community, and we made contact, but talking to Kim, I feel like I've known her forever. She's fantastic.
Yes. Her and I never had a real conversation until she introduced me to all of her dogs today. Before we were waiting for you to figure out your computer capture technology, and she is an absolute riot. So I cannot wait to bring her up, and now I'm going to introduce her. She's going to tell a little bit about herself. Kim, are you ready? Give me a nod in the back room. I can see you. You ready? All right. Coming to the stage, the very, very virtual stage, Kim Steele.
Hi.
Kim.
Hi, how are you?
Doing great.
Hey, Kim.
Hey, Maria, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Good.
Kim, tell us a little bit about your story with sepsis and who you are.
Of course, I'm 54 years old and I live in Georgia. And in 2016, I had a toxic reaction to a new medication that was prescribed for me. And 4 days into it, I had to be rushed to the ER. And in arriving there, I coded 3 times within 30 minutes. I had anaphylactic shock. And then when my liver and kidney started shutting down, I ended up with septic shock. And I was told that I had a less than 9% chance of living. But here I am today.
And so Maria she's the toeless runner. And Kim, you are a quadruple amputee, correct?
I am a quadruple amputee. I lost my hands at the wrist and both of my legs below the knees.
So let's go ahead and jump right into our discussion involving how you kind of got over that. And then we'll get into what you're doing in the world and how you're trying to create change and the awareness you're trying to create. Maria, yours kind of came at a weird time because, as you said, you were just starting to get into more of a high level of running, maybe not competitive, but you were getting into the marathons. You hadn't run much before that. What did the doctor tell you when you were like, when all this, or how did you feel when the doctor said, you're probably not going to run again?
I broke down in the office and just cried. They told me pick a different sport. Running just isn't going to happen for you, because I had tried on and off for a while. And when she told me that, all I could do was sit there and cry, because it was the emotion that came to me. Because once a runner, always a runner. And I knew in my heart that I could run again, that I wanted to run again. So I would say I had a little bit of a pity party. I let myself be sad for a little bit, which I think is normal. But then I thought, well, I am going to run again. I knew that's what I wanted to do. So what I had to do is just break it out. Like, what steps do I need to take to get there? First was getting my balance back, getting my strength back. So I hired a personal trainer. And when he first met me, I was a disaster, of course. But I had been so deconditioned that I really needed to get my strength back before I could even think about running again. And then I took up Bikram yoga, or hot yoga. And that's where I got my balance back. So I really kind of had to break it down. So once I had my strength back, my balance was better. I thought, okay, well, now what's the next thing? And the next thing was to try and get into the running clinic in Cambridge. When I was a patient at Spalding Rehab in Cambridge, they have a running center there. And when I would get wheeled out in my wheelchair, I said, when I'm ready to run again, they're going to be the ones to help me. And they were. I had to go through a very intense assessment. I had to run on a treadmill for 30 minutes, not consistently. But I had to run with no shoes on, which was very difficult. When they asked me if I could do all this to even take the assessment, of course I said yes, but I had no idea if I could or not.
What people don't realize, Maria, is because I think there's two different schools of thought on running. Somebody would go, why the heck do you want to, if you're told not to run, running is the worst thing on the planet. However, there's two very different opinions. I'm actually a runner myself. You and I actually, that's kind of how we started talking and how we met. It's another version of addiction, and it's something that changes. If you get into running, if you get into marathoning, if you get into long distance running, there's a clarity of thought that is very hard to explain. And it really is when something feels like that to you on a daily basis, when you start to get into it and it's taken away, it's next level in terms of how it affects the brain. So yeah, so you started saying, I have no idea how I'm going to get back into this, because I wanted to clarify to people, go like, do people really care about running that much? But they do. But yeah.
Enjoy it. Well, and it's also very social. I mean, it's a great way to meet people, different running groups. When we first moved up here, it's just a different way to get involved. And it's good. You could strike up conversation with other people that are runners. And then it becomes, okay, well, what races have you done? Or what kind of training do you do? So it's also a very social type thing, and a way to meet people. So it's not only the physical, but it's both. And it's a big part of who I was, or who I am. And I was not ready to give up on my goal.
And then before we go to Kim's story, you did end up making it. And I remember you and I talked, like, you had to, it wasn't just like it was purely mental, because I think that's an important message. It went beyond mental. You had to figure out what worked. You had to figure out what special socks you had to wear. You had to double up. You had to. So what was some of the things that you had to learn along the way to make sure you were being safe and able to actually increase that distance?
Yeah, so it comes down to even sneakers. What kind of sneakers do I need to wear? How do I lace my sneakers so my feet don't slide, because I don't have the toe stoppers in the front? I wear gripper socks. When I run in the summer, I have to wear compression socks sometimes, because my feet will swell with the heat. And in the winter, things are different. So it's a lot of trial and error and trying to figure things out. And as my mileage was increasing, I had a lot more nerve pain in my feet, So it's soaking my feet, it's icing them, it's using biofreeze, whatever I have to do to get through these longer runs. And it just all comes with kind of playing with all different things. But, the shoes, the socks, knowing when to use the compression socks, because if I make them too, if I take the swelling down too much in my foot, then they slide around too much in my shoe, even with the gripper sock. So there's a kind of a lot that goes behind it.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm gonna go back to you. We're gonna talk a little bit about what it felt like to actually complete that first half marathon. So, Kim, tell me a little bit about the events leading up to when you needed to get amputation. How much do you remember out of that week where everything went downhill so incredibly fast? And what was your initial thoughts? Because you assume as a human what your initial thoughts are when they say we have to amputate.
I know that whenever I came out of my coma, because I was in a coma for a couple of days, when I woke up, I looked at my hands and they were bandaged. They were bandaged, but I could see my fingers and they were black. I didn't know what my legs looked like, of course, because I was covered up in blankets. But whenever the doctors come in and discussed with me and my family what had happened, immediately the doctor wanted to cut my limbs above the elbow and above the knee. That would have made it very difficult for me if that would have happened. So luckily my family pushed for a second opinion, and I got 2 other doctors. And of course, my first surgery was done on my hands. On June the 6th of 2016, I lost my hands at the wrist. The doctor that they got to do for my leg surgery, he wanted to let my legs heal before he did the surgery on those. So they put this medicine called Silvadene that they use for burns on them. And it was amazing what it did for my legs. It was just a healing process. But unfortunately, it did bring back new skin, but my Achilles tendon was exposed on both of my legs, so they could not be saved. So I went to rehab first, and then, of course, I stayed at home for 3 months. And then on November the 15th of 2016, I became a quadruple amputee, and they amputated my legs below the knee.
So before all this happened, before you took the medicine and had the adverse reaction, were you active? Were you, what was your normal life like before?
I was a wife and a stepmother to 2 girls. And I did softball with them. One of them did softball. One of them played soccer. I went to all their games, took them to hitting lessons, all their the travel games, did all of that. I worked for Coca-Cola for 15 years. I worked for the federal government for 8. And then I became a stay-at-home mom because I have Crohn's disease. And in 2010, I had to take disability retirement from the federal government because my Crohn's disease had gotten so bad. So I spent all my time at home doing, stay-at-home mom, doing that. And then when this happened to me, things immediately changed. And unfortunately, my husband divorced me, and it was hard dealing with both that and losing my limbs. But I've come very far. I'm independent now, and I live on my own. I do everything just like I did before I lost my limbs. And I've had people ask me if I wanted to have my other life back, would I want it? And I tell them no, because I'm a much stronger person now. I'm able to go out of my comfort zone and do things that I've never done before. I fought hard, and I love being able to help others. And that's, and I know we'll get into that about what I'm doing, but I do a lot to help others who have also been faced as other amputees.
Yeah, I'm looking in the comment box, and there was already a couple people that messaged that they've had a few people that have lost friends to sepsis and blood issues and stuff like that. So again, it's great that you came out of it. And no matter how you look at it, the typical human on the outside would do the whole concept of, oh man, that sucks. But this to me is a perfect episode to get near the end of the year with, this year that we call 2020, or what this was. It's a great it's a great time to have you guys on and show that no matter what the pain is in the moment, having that positive attitude, and it doesn't mean that we can't be upset, doesn't mean that we can't feel hurt. And I do want to ask you one other question, Kim, about what it felt like in those months where you knew all the different things happening to you and what was going through your head, and what kind of darkness you went through that brought you to positivity, or were you peppy the whole time? It's good to know what that's like, because we're all going through different things in our life. And to hear somebody that either lost their toes or lost their legs and their hands, to be able to see what their mindset was that got them to the place that they are right now as two incredibly strong and inspirational ladies is huge. So what was going on in your mind throughout that, Kim?
When I was first told that I was going to become a quadruple amputee, I was so depressed because I didn't know what my life was going to be like. I didn't know that. I didn't know what my future held. Would I always have to have somebody take care of me? Would I ever be able to do things on my own? I didn't know. I mean, and I still have those days where, I do have days that I do struggle with it sometimes, but I don't stay there. One thing that I tell everybody, even people with all their limbs, no matter what you're faced with or what you're going through, you could be standing next in line to somebody at the cash register that is dealing with something totally, that's not visible. And we don't know what other people are going through, and we just have to learn to be kind to others. This has been a huge change for me, but I have embraced it. I've faced it head on, and I try to focus that positivity on everyone as much as possible now. No, I was not that at first. No, I wasn't. But one thing that changed my life was when I went to my second rehab facility. I went to Warm Springs Rehabilitation in Warm Springs, Georgia. And those were the most amazing people that could have ever helped me. And the other thing that helped me was that I started seeing other patients that were in there for something totally different. Maybe they had a stroke or dealing with other things, not wanting to go to rehab, not wanting to eat, just staying in their rooms, not wanting to do anything. And here I was getting up every morning. I was dressed in my wheelchair, ready for rehab to come get me, ready to go down to rehab and do my thing, so I could, get strong to do whatever, whatever my next phase of my life was going to be. So I started going into those patients' rooms and introducing myself and talking to those patients. And I would tell them, is it the food that they're bringing you? Is it something that you don't like? One man, he didn't like the food they were bringing. I said, well, what do you like to eat? And so he told me, and I said, well, you can tell them, what you like, and they'll bring it to you. So they started bringing it to him. And I said, you're not going to rehab. I said, I will go with you. I will go with you to rehab when I'm not doing my rehab, and I will go with you. And when he left before I did. And when he left there, he gained 25 pounds before he left. He was able to walk out of there, and he come up to me and he told me without me being the person that I was, he wouldn't be leaving there healthy and able to go home and live his life again. That's what helped heal me, helping me help others. And it helped heal my heart too for what I was going through. And then that's when I know right then that that's what I wanted to do. Once I was able to leave rehab and be able to do the things that I wanted to do, that I wanted to help others.
Finding purpose is incredibly healing.
Mm-hmm.
It's the best medicine you can really find in yourself, because no matter how much you push yourself. So for example, if Maria were to say, I want to run a marathon, and I just got this, without having that it factor, that key element of why are you running a marathon? Why is it just for you? If it's just for you, it's missing an element that is going to actually catapult you or force you into getting better, into healing. Because healing isn't just in your limbs. Healing isn't just in your body. Healing isn't just in your feet. Healing is right here. And no matter how much you talk to yourself, it needs other influences to truly heal. Maria, so we talked a little bit about your wanting to get back into running and how much that hurt. There's also other fears, like between you and Kim, you almost, I mean, there's the other options. Like you look at it like, you know, I lost my toes, but I was very close to death. Anytime any kind of amputation is involved, it's real. Like it's a big deal. So were you immediately thankful? Were you, and take away the running aspect, were you immediately thankful to be alive, or was it still kind of like, what the hell just happened?
I think when I woke up, it was what the hell just happened? Because I was out for 2 weeks. I didn't know what happened. And sometimes I'd be sitting at home and I would say, why did this have to happen to me? And I think what scared me the most, and I think you kind of touched on this before, is too often people find out about sepsis and what the symptoms are when it's too late. Either they themselves have gotten really sick or they've lost a loved one. And what scares me most is I didn't know. I mean, I laid in bed for a few days thinking I had the flu. And had I laid there another few hours, you know, I wouldn't be here talking to you today. So it's very important to me to let people know what the signs and symptoms of sepsis is. And there is Sepsis Alliance is a great resource where you can go and look up the signs and the symptoms. One of the acronyms that they use is It's All About Time. It's a temperature, infection, mental decline, and extremely ill. For me, I did have a very high temperature. I was hallucinating. But again, I thought I was dehydrated. I thought I just needed to go to the hospital and get a little bit of fluid, and then I was going to come home. And one thing before I forget that I wanted to touch upon that Kim said is patient advocacy is something that I talk a lot about as well, because I think too many times people think that when a doctor comes in and tells you something that you have to do it. It's always okay to ask for a second opinion. It's always okay to ask questions. For me, we were seeing a vascular doctor, and he was actually going to do a metatarsal amputation on my foot, which would have made it a lot harder for me to run because I would have lost a lot more. But before making a decision like that, my husband and I said we wanted to get a second opinion. And that's when we got referred to the orthopedic doctor and then got referred to the wound center. And because of all that, I was actually able to keep more of my foot because I went through a debriding process. But had we not asked the questions, had we not, said we wanted a second opinion, just like Kim, I mean, they would have amputated more than what needed to be done or we wanted to be done. So people just need to know how important it is for you to advocate for yourself and how important it is to ask questions.
And Maria, when you and I started talking, didn't you had just moved from someplace else, and we always wonder, like, we look at our lives and go, why did this happen? Why did we make this decision? Why did we move? And we think it could have been for a job or for a loved one or whatever it might be. But I think what you told me was if you wouldn't have moved to where you were living, you probably would not have gotten the care that probably saved your life, because that and also not just saved your life, but got back into running. So touch on that a second if you can.
Yeah, so I lived in Georgia, and I had no intentions on ever moving up north again. I am from upstate New York, but I hate the cold. And I had a great life in Georgia. I didn't want to leave my friends. I didn't want to leave my home. I didn't want to leave any of that. And I actually stayed home for 2 years, and my husband traveled back and forth. And finally he said, okay, it's time to move. And when we came up here, I thought, oh God, why did you make me move here? Like, why did I have to leave everything I loved and, to move up here to the north? But, Boston is home to the best medical facilities in the world. And I'm very fortunate that I was here when I got sick, because I do think that I wouldn't have ended up in as good of condition as I did.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
And well, I was just going to say, and here's another silver lining is you don't like it because it's cold up there. But to me, the thing that gets coldest on me first is my toes.
Your toes, yes.
So,
that's funny because when my feet get cold, I'm like, I'll tell people, I'm like, y'all, it must be really cold out because my feet are freezing. And for my feet to get cold, it does, because it is your toes that get cold first. And yeah, so for my feet to get cold, it's got to be really bad.
Yeah. See, silver linings. Now, before we
Yep.
get into the exact causes you guys work with, and again, that's the purpose of what we do with this. And if there's the people that are still watching right now, please share this out there. Great message. Go ahead and share it on your timelines. Hit the like button. Keep doing that stuff. Make comments. And we go ahead right now if you'd like to ask some questions. Feel free. I'll try to find a couple of them before the end of the show. So, Maria, you kind of touched on your silver lining. Kim, I would love, and you talked a little bit about where being stronger now, stronger today. But if you could really, truly look back and you do the hindsight thing, what is the silver lining out of, as hard as it sounds to some people, the silver lining of not having legs and hands?
My silver lining is that I'm still here. I'm still here. I'm able to share my story with others. I'm able to do things that I never thought I'd do again. I'm living a good life where I could not, like I said, not be here. I mean, I went from a less than 9% chance of living to living independently, driving a regular vehicle with no adaptive equipment. I have the best prosthetics. I've got the coolest hands. I feel like I'm the bionic woman. And I mean,
yeah.
life is
So
good.
people might not know this. Maria, I know you've got a couple of your prosthetics around. So beyond the amputee, she's actually got these really cool prosthetics as well that are like she's like the bionic woman. Do you have those next to you? I think you did, right?
Yeah, I've got them next to me.
Kim has actually been posting a lot of videos on how she uses them.
Yeah, it's me. You said Maria, but it's me that uses the prosthetic.
Oh, did I say Maria? I'm sorry, Kim.
You did.
My bad.
Okay, this is my myoelectric hand. It works with 8 different functions, and it has 2 sensors inside of it that actually works through the muscles of my arms. I'm the one that controls to either to open it or close it. That's my hand, and I actually have 2 of them, and then I also have 2 hooks, and I'll show you the hook, and I can switch them out. And I used to be left-handed when all of this happened to me, but now I can actually use both. But this is my hook. It works the same way. It's got the 2 sensors. There's one here and one here that works off the muscles of my arms, and I control to open and close it. Like if you say you're opening your hand, I'm opening my hook. So if you made a fist, that means I'm closing it. So I can still feel my hand, my fingers. I can still feel my toes. When I tell you that it feels like somebody's stabbing me in the foot, it feels like somebody's stabbing me in the foot. I can feel that because your brain don't know that, they're still thinking that they're still there, even though they're not. And so, and I'll get, like, if my hand is itching, I can't scratch it because it's no longer there, but I can feel it and it itches, and I'm like, oh, but I can't do anything about it, because it's not there anymore. But yeah, technology has come so far, and it's made it so much easier for me to do. And I've learned how to do so much with just these because my prosthetics are actually longer than what the normal prosthetic is, because they cut me above the wrist, and most of the time when they do amputations, it's behind the wrist, and they allow for a wrist to be in your prosthetic. So I use the hooks to do my laundry because the hands can't get wet. I use my hands to cook with. I can leash my dogs with my hooks if I take them for a walk. They're just so functional. But like I said, I've learned to do so much with just my residual limbs. And it just comes with time. I mean, people ask me, how do you take a picture? I mean, I'll show you. I'll take it and I'll hold it up.
It's amazing. She's amazing.
I'll hold it up like this, and then I'll focus on my picture, and I'll take it and I'll do it with my lip, and I'll hit the button and I'll take a picture.
It's being adaptive. It's figuring out how to do things. So somebody goes, look at your makeup. Your makeup's on point. So when you do, and that was actually going to be my next question, when you're getting ready to go about your day, are you typically using the prosthetics, or are you typically just using your hands the way they are?
I'm using my hands the way they are. I put my legs on. Of course, I can't sleep with my legs on. And these are my legs. I have my own leg warmers. And of course, in Georgia and during the summertime, I sweat to death because you've got 2 liners and plus the the prosthetic part, but there's supposed to be 27 here Christmas Day, so that's pretty cold for Georgia. So yeah, I tell everybody I've got my own leg warmers, and of course when I go to my homes, they're saying, "Why are you sweating so much?" I said, "Y'all have it so hot in here, and in the summer I'm just melting." I tell them I feel like a wicked witch, but they're cold nature, and I'm sitting there sweating just pouring off of me, and it's like, try putting these on for a minute, and then you'll see what I'm talking about. I mean, it's
would you want to wear pants in the summer? Not only am I wearing pants, I'm wearing legs. It's a whole different game. You don't know.
Yeah, and you can only take off clothes in the summertime. You can add clothes in the winter, but you can't take off it so much in the summertime.
Wait, now, Kim, let's switch places. You could come here to Massachusetts, and I'll come back to Georgia. Let's switch.
Yeah, no, I don't know if I can deal with all that snow.
I know. Oh.
So Maria, what did it feel like when you finally ran your first half against kind of doctors' suggestions and all that, and you found a way to make sure the pain wasn't too bad and you were able to train through it? And I think you and I even talked about it. And if people don't know what training for a half marathon or full marathon is like, it's not like you just go for a couple 3-mile runs. You're like, oh, I'm ready. There's a regimen to it. And that was actually the most dangerous part for you, is making sure that your body and feet didn't break down during that. So tell a little bit about the training, and then about the day you ran the half.
Yeah, so I do have to be careful with my feet and getting wounds and stuff on my feet, like cuts, because then I have to worry about infection and blisters and all those types of things. The training, I love Facebook for a reason, because I documented, like, the first time I ran 7 miles, I was like, oh my God, I just did it. And then when I did 8 and 9, and, I went to work that day with the biggest smile on my face, because I had finally done it. You know what I mean? Like, I had increased my miles, and I couldn't wait to come home and send a text to my therapist and say, guess what I just did? And then the half marathon, finishing it, was amazing.
How long after your toe amputation was the half marathon?
I think 2 years. And I will say now, when I run, I don't run just for me. I run for people that can't run, that want to run, or can't exercise, that want to exercise. I run for people, and I let them see what I'm doing to try and help motivate them to get active and get moving, and to know that you really don't have any obstacles that stand in your way. They're just the obstacles that you tell yourself that you have. And there's really no excuse. You need to get out there and get moving. And I think we've learned with COVID, one of the things that the doctors have said is, if you're healthy and you live a healthy lifestyle, you're more apt to recover from it. And honestly, because I was in such good physical condition before I got sick, my heart was strong, and I was able to make it through. So health and wellness is very important, and making sure people are out there moving. So when I run now, I'm not just doing it for me. I'm doing it to show others that you can really do anything that you set your mind to.
I believe as though that is called, Kim, what's that called?
What's that?
Purpose. It's called purpose, and it helps heal. Yeah.
It does have a purpose. I mean, if you don't have a purpose, I mean, so many people just give up. I've watched so many people just not use their leg. They're amputees. They don't use their legs. They put them over in a corner and they look at them. They just give up. And I mean, you have to have a purpose to get up every day to do what you want to do. And it's not just people with disabilities or people who have lost something. It's anybody that wants to get up every day and be happy, want to do something, make a change, do whatever, go to work. You got to have a purpose to get up every day. I mean, like I tell everybody, I could have laid in, and I'm going to use a country term, I could have laid in a wallow of pity, but I didn't. I didn't stay there. I didn't feel sorry for myself. I don't want nobody to feel sorry for me now. I want people to see me living my life to the fullest. I've been skydiving. I've done, I mean, like I said, I would have never done that if I would have had a family. I would have never jumped out of a perfectly good airplane. But one Easter Sunday I did, and my family didn't know about it. I went to early sunrise service, and then I drove straight to the where they do skydiving at, and I jumped out of the airplane and then went and had Easter lunch with my mom and them, and then they had a deal. But it's okay. It's all good. I'll do it again.
Well, that's the other side to this story is you don't know what's going to happen in your life, so embracing it, and you survived. Obviously, completely different human being than you were on the exterior, but internally, you're a much stronger person, and you're also realizing not to take life for granted. Again, another message of 2020. Let's not take friendships. Let's not take social life. Let's not take all these, a hug from a friend. Let's not take that for granted and realize that when you get the opportunity to do that, if you go, man, I really want to go skydiving, don't keep saying I really want to go skydiving. Go skydiving. If you want to go run, like sometime in my life, I want to run a marathon. Time is the only oppressor that is undefeated in life. And you will eventually lose to it. So why waste it? Why not engage in the activities that you want to be a part of? So I think that's another great message. I love that you went skydiving. I haven't gone since I was 22, and I'm going to change the way I say this. I'm like, I should go again. I'm going to go again in the next year. Next year.
And I think you gotta get up, and sometimes not every day is a positive day, and not every day is a good day, and you need to have those days. Those days you need to throw yourself those little pity parties, but then have the strength to move on and move forward. And I think when you surround yourself with positive people and positive stories, then you become more positive. If you surround yourself with negativity and negative thoughts, then you're going to stay in that negative mindset. So that's part of what I want to do too, is help create that positivity, help share stories. And I mean, Kim is very positive, very inspirational, what she's been able to do. And I know she's helping a lot of people, and, surrounding yourself with people like that and listening to those stories will help motivate you to move forward.
Yeah. And I'm going to put my my motivational hat on here. And some of our audience knows that I do a little bit of motivational speaking, but we talk about purpose, but at the same time, we talk about tough days. There's tough days where we don't want to get out of bed. There's tough days where you lose all 4 of your limbs. I mean, there's all different levels of it, but ultimately, when there's things that are going well and the days you wake up and everything's running smoothly and you go about your day, that's great. That's icing on the cake. But the days that truly define us and allow us to create ripple effects and allow us to show the world what we're made of in order to allow other people to have that kind of positivity, it's the days we don't want to get out of bed. It's the days where everything feels life is against us. It's the days you wake up and you're told that you no longer have toes. It's the days you wake up and say you might not survive, but this is what we're going to do. And you get up, whether it's in a day or whether it's in a month or whether it's in a year, and you get to that point where you finally overcome it. That's what defines us as people. That's what creates a legacy. That's what creates the ripple effect, because you're going to touch one person. We have one person in the chat that just said they got bad news yesterday. And just being able to share your story to that one person makes a world of difference, and it creates a ripple over and over and over again. So I love that kind of messaging. So from here, what I want to talk about to get near the end of the show is what Changemakers is about is not just creating change in yourself, especially in this case. You guys are doing a lot in the world to create awareness and create change. So I'll start with Kim, and I know you guys kind of work on the same thing, so I'll just leave you guys if you want to talk together. What are you guys doing in the world of sepsis to create awareness, or what are you doing to change the world?
I've been working with hospitals, also doing, whenever I do some of my speaking events, I have sepsis posters made up. I've got pamphlets. I've got tutorials, videos during Sepsis Awareness Month. I flood Facebook with everything about sepsis. I got Sepsis Awareness Month declared in Georgia for the month of September. I got that proclamation. I was real happy about getting that from the governor, setting that month aside for Sepsis Awareness Month. I also got the proclamation for April for Limb Loss Awareness Month. I got it proclaimed in Georgia as well. But sepsis is very passionate to me. I know people probably get tired of seeing it on my Facebook page, but sepsis is real. Sepsis affects over 20, up to 27 million, up to 30 million worldwide people. And in Georgia and in the United States alone, it affects 270,000 people, and the numbers are climbing.
Yeah.
This can take your life if you're lucky to live through it. And there's so many things that mimic so many different things. And just as Maria said, advocate for your health. I say that to everyone. If you don't like what a doctor says, get a second opinion. If you're not feeling well, go to the hospital, because the first 48 hours is key in treating sepsis.
And that's why I know when I go out to book signings or different events, I have the little cards that you can order from Sepsis Alliance, and I hand those out. I post a lot on my website, especially during Sepsis Awareness Month. I have my I can't even point to it, my sweatshirts and stuff that I made up with my logos, and trying to spread it that way. A lot of my friends wear them, especially during Sepsis Survivors Week. In Sepsis Survivors Month. So it's just spreading the word, because you're right, like knowing the signs, even if you know the signs, just so you can ask the doctor when you go or when you call the doctor's office, like, I'm having these symptoms, I think I may be going septic. It brings it to their attention, because I don't think all hospitals in the United States are at the point where they are asking those questions when you go to the doctor or go to the emergency room. And had somebody gone through some of the symptoms with me, maybe I would have recognized it a little bit earlier. I would have known.
Yeah. And I think in 2020, we put everything into a certain reference, and 270,000 Americans die each year as a result of sepsis, which is almost the same amount that we are at with COVID this year. And I know a lot of people go, well, why doesn't that get, coverage? Is it why we would know more about it? Well, the thing is, COVID is a 99% recovery rate, whereas if 1.7 million adults in America develop sepsis, and this also shows how blessed these ladies are to be here, that would be 1 in every 7 people that get sepsis die from it. So obviously it's a vastly different illness than COVID, but the actual mortality numbers are almost the same as this thing that's shutting down the country. And understanding it's not just people that have an adverse reaction. It's people that have surgeries, that have a common everyday normal surgery, and there might be an infection that starts. It can happen at any time, and that's why you have to listen to your body.
You do. And, MRSA is a big one. I know a lot of people that have had surgery, and, you have a lot of pain at the site where the surgery was, and you just figure, oh, it's just pain associated with the surgery, but you could have an infection, and it could be MRSA, and it could be deadly. I had MRSA in my foot, and it looked like a little pimple. And at first, they thought it was a blister. It got painful. I was running a low-grade fever of 99 for over a week. So, I had just gone through this traumatic process. So I was like, you know what, I should go to my primary doctor and get it looked at. And she tested it, and it was MRSA. Explained, just like my foot was dead on the outside, all the bones and everything were dead on the inside. And so they, didn't get all the infected bone. So I had to have 5 more removed. But had I not been in tune, and I think had I not gone through what I went through before, I would have just left it alone. I wouldn't have known it was MRSA, and it could turn into something deadly.
Right. So Kim, I believe you work with Congress. You've worked with a couple politicians to create changes and coalitions. Explain that a little bit as well, if you can.
Yes, I'm actually a peer visitor for the Amputee Coalition, and I've also been working with the Amputee Coalition with passing these laws to get better health care for amputees. Insurance companies, we have to fight with insurance companies because they think our prosthetics, especially our prosthetic legs, are not a necessity. How are they excited? How are we supposed to live our lives if we don't have our legs? So we're trying to create change. We're trying to get bills passed to where people don't have to fight to get what they need, that everything is so readily accessible to them. They don't have to find sponsors or donors or go to these organizations for them to get these prosthetics or the limbs that they need. And it's key. I mean, passing these laws and getting these bills passed is huge. It's huge for the amputee community, and huge for veterans. Veterans have a hard time getting, their prosthetics and the care that they need. And it's an ongoing process of trying to get all of this stuff done so that we are able to live the life that we want to live. And we should be able to without having to fight with insurance companies.
Yeah. Insurance companies, everybody's favorite.
Yeah.
Horrific. Excellent. Well, again, ladies, it's amazing to hear what you guys are doing, also what you've overcome. So what you do on a daily basis by sharing that story. And again, when people have great stories, some people are like, I don't know if I should share it. Share it. God knows. In 2020, we want to hear as much of this positive stuff as humanly possible, and people that have overcome, because it's contagious. It's viral. That is the good viral, is finding other stories that inspire and motivate us to do things and to push forward and to move on. I know Maria, Kim, have you written a book? Have you gotten into that yet? You guys both have.
Yep.
Okay.
I have a book. I have.
So both of you guys, Maria, go ahead and tell us what's your book, and then we'll go over to Kim.
It's called I Am a Runner, The Memoirs of a Sepsis Survivor, and it's available on Amazon. And I also have a website. Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, I had it, but I'm selling this house, and I don't know where anything is, but usually I just reach and grab it, but there's only, this is the realtor put that there, so I don't, okay. So anyways, so go ahead and let people know where to get it.
It's on Amazon. And I also have a website if people want to check it out. It's the toelessrunner.com.
Excellent. toelessrunner.com. I'm going to add that to your display name if anybody wants it, the toelessrunner.com. Kim, what's your book about?
My book is called Living Life Without Limits, and mine is about my story of how I survived sepsis. And it was pretty much my life story from the beginning of going through my marriage, growing up as a child, and then becoming a quadruple amputee, what this life is for me now, and how I see my life now. It's about positive change. And of course, mine is on my website, and that's the only, because mine was self-published. Mine is on my website of Living Life with No Limits.net. But it's just an inspirational story about what I've gone through and how I have come out on top, and how I'm making a change and doing whatever I can to help people, to give other people their purpose again, to be the shining example for anybody who feels like they can't make it. If they become a quad amputee, it's all in what you do. It's all up to you. You have to find that strength. You have to dig deep to find it. And that person is in there. You've just got to dig deep. That's all I can say. And that's what I had to do.
So if there's any questions in the next minute, we'll go ahead and ask those to these ladies. Now, Kim, I've got a question. You know, my marketing brain that's a little bit more on like the cheeky, goofy side. I think it'd be creative if the book had on there Living Life with No Limbs, and then cross out the limbs and then say limits. I think that'd be kind of badass.
That would be cool. Yeah. Yeah, that's a cool idea. I didn't think about that. I should have had you whenever I was doing my cover.
See?
That's why they pay me the bid bucks, aka selling the condo. Anyways.
But one thing I'd like to say too, one good thing that's come out of all this too, is that I got to meet Kim, and she's just an incredible lady, and it just amazes me at how strong she is and everything she's been through. So it's been wonderful.
It has been wonderful meeting you as well. I feel like I've known you all my life.
I know, me too.
We just talk and talk and talk. Yeah.
Yes.
It's been great.
There's been, I mean, even in this year, there's so many positive things. It's hard for a lot of people to go. I think that is going to be the key of our New Year's resolutions this year, is to look back and find the positives. They are there. They are 1,000,000% there, but you have to go through the other stuff to actually find them. And I think that's going to be like that kind of concept of gratitude and abundance is going to be a huge motivator to move to 2021. And by the way, Brittany also agreed that she was thinking the same thing with the title. So it wasn't just me. It wasn't just my odd, weird, sick, morbid brain. So, ladies, if you have a final thought, I'm going to go ahead and pull that off the screen. If you have a final thought, let's go ahead and start with Kim. What's your final words?
My final words is this has been a tough year. It's been a tough year for everyone, having to stay at home, the kids having to do virtual learning. I've had to do virtual events. It's been hard for me not being able to go and do my events because I've had to stay home, but I've been fortunate enough to be able to be doing them virtual and keeping myself safe because, I have a weakened immune system. I have to protect myself, but I do miss being able to go out and visit with people. But the one thing that I think we all should remember is that no matter what we're faced with, we can get through anything if we choose to. Don't give up. Even when you think you're at your lowest, just keep pushing forward. You can get through it. I was there. I know how it feels to be at the bottom of the barrel. But if you fight hard enough, you can get through anything. And I think that is huge for anybody. I also think we all need to be kinder to one another. People are not as accepting of people with disabilities. And I'm not just talking about amputees. I'm talking about disabilities on a whole. You have people that have all their limbs or has not had their life affected by people with disabilities. That needs to change. I get stared at. I get pointed at. Kids accept me better than the adults do. They think it's cool. When I show them my hand, they think I'm cool. You would think the kids would be more scared of me, but they're curious. So, and I always tell anybody, if you want to know my story, ask me. I'll be glad to tell you my story because I love telling it. I love telling how I come from almost dying to being where I'm at today.
I love it. Thank you, Kim. That is awesome. And it's also a great message with kids because I feel like there's some negatives to the way that we have raised our children in the last 20 years, but there's also a lot of positives. And I think that and somewhere in the middle is probably the best. But that whole ability for kids to recognize that and embrace that is huge because, kids back in the 1980s or 90s and they'd see that and they'd be like, oh my God, that's so different. It's so odd. And now we've realized that we're all different skin tones, all different ethnicities, all different religions, all different disabilities or abilities, all these different things. And I think that is definitely a huge positive to our youth, the way that the kids have been raised. So that softness does have its positivity. So we also have to teach them to be tough once in a while, for God's sake. Okay. Maria, final words?
So I think one thing I say a lot is nothing worth working for is ever easy. And everybody has the strength to reach the goals that they want to reach. You just have to find that strength in yourself. And I think when you go through something like we've been through, it's hard to find it. It's not easy to find it. I prayed a lot to find my purpose and to find my strength. And once I did, the whole world, and once I changed my outlook and started thinking more positive, everything started to happen for me. And it wasn't easy, but it kept me going. So I would say nothing worth working for is ever easy. And you just have to find that strength within yourself and surround yourself with positivity.
Absolutely. Both of you ladies have made my cup full this week. I thank you for that as we lead into Christmas. So the message I have for everybody based on what you just heard there is exactly what they've been saying, is to live your life, to find the silver linings, to realize that no matter what happens to you, it's your decision whether you want to end up better internally, mentally, even physically. Maria never ran a half marathon before she got hurt, before she had the amputation. So it's really up to you. It's up to you how you handle the next month. It's up to you how you handle the next year. And you know what? Life is going to happen. Bad things are going to happen. We don't want them to, but that's just life. And when they do, we can't sit back and let the world beat us. We have to realize that we have the power no matter how difficult things are. For God's sakes, if you lose 4 limbs and you can come back stronger than before, that's proof positive that the human spirit is stronger than anything that the world can throw against us. And that kind of message, I hopefully is the way to go into Christmas, way to go into New Year's. I think we have one more episode before the end of the year. I'm not totally sure, but we'll check that out. Thank you guys for joining us. And to everybody out there, you guys know it's coming up tonight at 10 o'clock Eastern time. Hopefully we'll see you there for episode number 4. You like that I never say the title of it. Just the fact that I've read white and blue, I feel like makes people uncomfortable these days. So we can't wait to see you guys there tonight for that. And again, that's just going to be on our YouTube channel. If you'd love to support us, patreon.com/BeTheChangeUSA. We also have a whole bunch of fun stuff on the website, like that bad A hat right there with Unite, Be the Change on there, and that adorable son of a biscuit. He is not for sale. He is not for sale on the website. Depending on how much you're off. Never mind. No, he's not for sale. But anyways, thank you guys so much. Kim, Maria, thank you so much. God bless. Have a great rest of the week. And thank you for being Changemakers. I love it.
Thank you so much for having us.
No problem. Take it easy, ladies. Take it easy, audience, and see you later.